It's Monday, March 23rd, 2015. I'm Jimmy Principek.
And I'm Trey Comstock, putting your final orders because this is Tech's Last Call, episode 112. Your last call for Tech News of the Week. Tonight, Jimmy gets all his TV on Meerkat.
No, I'm a millennial.
And I stand in Zone 4 to play Nintendo on my watch. But we start tonight with Nintendo turning its ship. So, here's the headline. Brace yourself for this. Nintendo will be making mobile apps for smartphones using their existing IP.
No. They said they would never do that.
No, well, okay. So
They implied
Satoru
they would
Iwata
never
in
do that.
2013 heavily implied that they would not bring Mario to smartphones. Now, he can still say he's somewhat consistent with those comments, and I'll get to why. But historically, this is not the first time that they've done this. There are, for instance, the terrible CDI Zelda games. That was a non-Nintendo system that got Nintendo intellectual property. However, this does mark a major shift in strategy. They're partnering with a Japanese app maker called DNA, spelled capital D, lowercase e, capital N, capital A. I've been told it's pronounced DNA. Yeah. And so DNA has actually had their own kind of hit mobile games on their own. However, Nintendo will be the one designing the games. These will also be brand new games, tailored to the mobile-specific control schemes rather than ports of older games, which is what Satoru Iwata was talking about in 2013. That you're not just going to get Super Mario Brothers on your phone because that would be terrible.
Or Super Smash Bros. Brawl on your phone.
Because all of those have relied. One of Nintendo's trademarks is how well their games control, how tight the controls, how good they feel. And you can't get that on a touchscreen. You don't want to be playing Super Mario World on a touchscreen, right? That just sounds terrible. But they've designed touchscreen stuff specifically for the DS that's really taken advantage of that and been really cool and been something different, not just straight up ports. DNA themselves will be providing server infrastructure and payment systems needed for making this jump into a mobile-first, cloud-first world. And this is straight up like.
So is Microsoft just going to buy them next?
No, I always have wished Apple would buy them. I think they have such a similar corporate philosophy, but they also have the similar corporate philosophy of being extremely proud.
That's true.
And so it probably won't happen. This could be a really wonderful thing because Nintendo's current online offerings are poor at best. The idea seems to be that DNA will build Nintendo's version of Xbox Live that crosses over between console and mobile platforms.
Which they sorely need.
In stressing that they are not getting out of the console business, Nintendo teased their new console, currently known simply as the codename NX. Little is known about this. It was mentioned on a slide as part of this DNA press conference. And we also know it will be connected to the new mobile offering, and it's going to be a ground-up, all-new experience, not just another DS clone with another gimmick. So, with all of this, overall, did Nintendo blow your mind?
Yeah, they totally blew my mind. I saw that on, I think it was on CNET is where I saw it. And I had to double check. And then I went and looked at The Verge to make sure that I wasn't high on some kind of crack or, I don't know, whiteout.
Those things happen.
Yeah, melatonin. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
I think that. So DNA, I hadn't actually heard of them, and then I went and looked up their website, and I recognized their logo, but I, for the life of me, can't remember any games I played of theirs.
I get the sense that they're more Japanese market specific. Look, mobile gaming is gaming in Japan.
That's true.
Whether it's mobile consoles on the 3DS and the Vita, or it's mobile games on phones. The PlayStation 4 and the Wii U both have sold very poorly in Japan. most gaming in Japan is done while commuting.
Wow.
And so
I mean, that's fairly true in the United States
for
as well.
for casual gaming.
Yeah.
Our hardcore market, the people who are following even websites like this, but certainly websites like GameSpot, IGN, Giant Bomb, those are still console and PC gamers for the television consoles.
Okay, so the game that I've played by DNA is the Star Wars Tower Defense game.
Okay, I heard decent things about that.
They built the Star Wars Tower Defense game. It's a good game. I really enjoyed it. It's one of the few things I played a lot on the Nexus 7 or Nexus 9 that's now gone.
Yeah, I mean, I heard decent things about it.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
not a big
it's
tower defense guy, but
I really enjoy tower defense games, and they did a great job of staying kind of true to Star Wars and also that genre and making it interesting enough that I wanted to keep playing it, but not like, but still had the like it wasn't pay to win, but you could buy more lives or whatever, but the lives recharging wasn't like a horrible onus because the games would take about 20 minutes to play. In the later levels, and it would take 30 minutes for you to get a new life. So
yeah, I mean that's not crazy.
You could play for a long time without running out of lives. And at that point, you really thought about, I could just buy one more life.
Yeah, but then you're always going to be buying just one more life.
I know. So I think that Nintendo's doubling down not only on the mobile, but also then coming with the console rumors, a console that we probably won't see for probably a year and a half.
Yeah, probably E3 2016.
Yeah, we'll see it. We'll see it shown off at E3 2016, and then it'll be released for Japan in that fall, and then
depends what it is.
And then it'll loop back around for the United States next year.
So one of the rumors, analysis, it's hard to know. Thoughts that I've heard is what if the NX is a replacement for both? They do what I wanted Microsoft to do.
Well, what they need to do.
Because what I wanted Microsoft to do was the Xbox Surface, or the Surface Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
Where, because in the end, I carry...
Look at how big a Wii U is. It's really not that big.
Well, it's the same size as the Wii. It's just a similar form factor. And so the idea is a tablet with control, like the Wii U tablet controller, maybe with a little bigger screen, that you carry with you. Then that's the console. And then just like an MHL
dongle, port, yeah.
That goes in and basically acts as the Nexus, the Chromecast.
Yeah, the Chromecast
for your Nintendo game system, and it just casts what's going on the tablet up to the screen. And maybe if you plug it in,
so basically
you get a slight
you reverse
boost in
it.
graphics.
So where you have a when you are playing it, all the power is in the device. Mm-hmm. And then the TV is just a dumb screen.
Well, what's interesting is right now, the Wii U is incredibly inefficient in terms of design. So the tablet is just a dumb screen.
Right. It's a reverse of the Wii U.
All of the processing is done in that box. So both the TV that's being fed and the tablet are dumb screens. Now, the cute trick that Wii U pulls off all right, as long as you're in single player gaming, is it's a wireless tablet that works, and it's wireless video that works, and that's great. It's using a bastardized version of Miracast. Fun fact. So what I'm hearing, and I think this makes a lot of sense, is they both replace the 3DS and the Wii U with the NX, and it's one thing.
So what you're telling me is that they're building a Sega Nomad.
Yes.
Because it'll use, the Sega power adapter, and then, you can plug a Genesis controller into it, and then put Genesis cartridges in it, and then connect it to the television.
Hook it up to your TV.
And so then you can have, multiplayer.
They are definitely building a Sega Nomad.
You heard it here first.
Well, first they built a Dreamcast.
Nintendo.
First
Nintendo built the
Dream.
They're going backwards in Sega,
and now they're building the Nomad.
This is how Nintendo will realize their true defeat of Sega from the 90s. They will create a Dreamcast and sell it, and then they will create a Nomad and sell it.
Okay, when the Wii U dies, which will happen, I think so far it has already outlived this, in that
The Dreamcast.
it has outlived the Dreamcast. At least in that Nintendo is still talking about building consoles. But where this ends, I want to see who wins in the end. Which sold more, Dreamcast or Wii U? And I think it's Wii U. I'd like to hope it's Wii U. I love the Dreamcast, but I actually think the Wii U has better game support than the Dreamcast ever had. And it hasn't been so, it has Nintendo first parties that are worth playing. Sega first parties were not those reliable, like, oh man, yeah. We almost had 2 Nintendo games in our top 5. And I can't remember our top 5 well enough to know if we did or didn't. But I know we certainly had one.
Did Smash Brothers
make it or not?
Smash Brothers was on. Smash Brothers, I think, was the bubble one. I can't remember if it was 5 or 6.
But right, but
it was either 5 or 6 though.
But for the 2 years that we've given the Game of the Year award, at least one Nintendo game has been in the running.
Right.
Or actually 2 Nintendo games have been in the running both times. Super Mario 3D World and Zelda: Link Between Worlds.
Oh, that's right.
And then Smash Brothers and Mario Kart Wii. And so what keeps Nintendo systems going that Sega never had was just the sheer amazing ability of Nintendo's game designers.
Well, and it is also what is making it so that, okay, maybe the Wii U is something people want. And I've been told by people, yeah, you need to get a Wii U, not just by you, but by other people that I know that are into gaming.
And I think the Zelda game's coming, and that Zelda game could really set the world on fire.
So here's my question, though. So what do we think that this, going back to the mobile games, what do we think that's going to look like?
I don't know. They don't know.
This is going to be one of those partnership things where they bring their IP and
they're making the games. Nintendo is making the games.
Okay, Nintendo's making the games.
This is in-house. This is not...
And DNA is just providing the framework.
DNA is providing the framework and hey, this, mobile apps, here's how you monetize them. Here's, I'm sure there's some cross-pollination, but in terms of the game design work...
here's the free-to-play stuff.
Right.
Here's how you do free-to-play.
Right, but in terms of designing the games, the controls, the story, the visuals, that is Nintendo.
Okay.
Which is what's going to make this better than the damn CDI games.
Right.
Which were terrible. Right? I think in some ways Nintendo have learned from their mistakes of 30 years ago. In how to handle and they've been really precious with their IP up until now. I would be willing to bet that, for instance, Pokemon, which is sort of second party, but Nintendo exclusive, would work great on mobile. Right? Because
it's all kind of turn-based.
It's a turn-based JRPG, which do pretty well on mobile. You just need to figure out how exploration works, and I think, if you tap to where you could figure out a tap to where you want to go, you could make the exploration bit work. So I think a Pokemon game makes a lot of sense. I think some form of Mario Endless Runner makes a lot of sense. I think you have a Zelda-based puzzle game. Right, something like Cut the Rope. I'm not a great game designer. I can only build off of what I know. But something like Cut the Rope, where it's like you're dealing with individual puzzles, but set in this kind of Zelda universe.
Well, and I think that's something that they should also. And I'm going to come back to the Star Wars game. I mean, Star Wars is a well-known franchise. And they made a tower defense game. Everyone has a tower defense game.
Right.
But it was definitely there were people that love Star Wars that were involved in that game. Right. And so in the same way, I think that Nintendo will bring that people that love and understand the IP that is, Zelda and Mario and, even Donkey Kong or other various IPs, Yoshi, and bringing that to the mobile platform.
I mean, this is the company that brought us Wii Sports, right? Which so totally understood the hardware and created just this must-have thing that didn't exist in the marketplace before. Sports games weren't like that. And then there was Wii Sports. And no one's been able to replicate it since, mind you.
Including
Connect Adventures is terrible. But Nintendo may come up with something that no one else has done before. Because they've been at this a long time. And Iwata said something interesting in the press conference that I want to kind of close this segment with. He talked about how Nintendo's a nearly 200-year-old company. And how they've made major shifts before. They made playing cards. And they made small handheld games. Electronic games. And then they saw that the TV was the wave of the future, and so they jumped on that TV thing. And now they see that mobile is the wave of the future. 5 years later, but give them some, TV.
That is here to stay.
TVs have been around for 40 years before they jumped on them too. And so this is a similar sea change within the organization, just like the move to console. So I think you're going to see a really major effort, and Nintendo has the game design chops to pull something off. And so I'm optimistic, cautiously optimistic. But they're doing the design work. This isn't just a sellout. No. This is what you can hang your hat on. Something that I think is a total sellout, and I'm in no way excited about, is their next story.
So yeah, Sony this week took on Dish and Sling TV by releasing its own internet streaming platform to the public. Called PlayStation Vue. Sony's service provides live internet TV of 60 channels.
VUE,
yeah, not like the normal way. Of 60 channels served through the company's PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 consoles. Yes,
not
that's
on Vita or PS TV.
Yeah, no, that is the only way you can get it.
Or Bravia televisions, or all of this. Sony
has all this stuff.
Sony Vita TV. This is the perfect.
Anyways, so how this will work is it allows users to watch any programming from the last 3 days on demand, and will store any shows that the user tags as their favorite shows for up to 28 days in a cloud DVR, forever solving the living room battle for TV tuners.
I don't. Yep.
That you don't have, but that
that's a thing.
That apparently, based on all of the DVR commercials from 3 years ago, is a big problem. So what will this service cost? Well, for now, it's only available in 3 cities. So unless you live in New York, Chicago, or Philadelphia, don't even worry about it.
Or can VPN into
VPN into New York, Chicago, or Philadelphia. The PlayStation Vue starts at $49.99 per month for the 60 standard channels, which they call Core. Or no, they call Core is the next tier up. I don't even remember what they call it. It's some stupid name. Anyways, then for another $10, you can upgrade to their next plan, which includes regional sports, specifically like Yes Network in New York City, which is the Yankees network, and Comcast Sports specifically for Chicago or Philadelphia, depending on
so I can get
where you're
HD
VPNing
when it comes
into.
To Houston.
Yeah.
That's the channel that has the Astros. Again, I'm very
concerned about the Astros.
That's all I want.
And then for another $10, you can access like lifestyle shows and like MTV random networks that you didn't know existed. So what's lacking from this offering? Well, other than a lot of common sense, quite a bit. Disney Channel and ABC and ESPN, the big thing that Dish is able to offer with its Sling TV service, are all lacking. So they have no deal with Disney. And they also have AMC listed as coming soon, which must mean that AMC is really hard to do deals with, because Sling also took a little while to get AMC on board. Also, Sony, as we previously mentioned, doesn't have apps on anything other than PS3 or PS4.
It's not even on all of their platforms.
It's not even on all of their platforms, but they say that they're working on an iPad app, so that's good, probably. And we'll later integrate with services like maybe Roku and maybe Apple TV, but they didn't say which ones or when, or give any indication of like what exactly that plan is.
Sony sells insurance. What do they know?
So Trey, are you going to sign up whenever they come to wherever the hell it is you're living?
No. No. I'm not. I'm not. I don't like Comcast as a company. I think they're evil. I think they're jerks. I think they're bad for this planet. But the simple fact is I'm just going to pay them for cable. I am just going to keep. And actually, right
That's
now,
what their existence is
full
for.
disclosure, I use Dish Network. I don't use either. I don't use. I have a satellite, not a cable company. But I'm going to keep paying one of these people, whether it's Dish Network or Comcast. I'm not going to DirecTV. I do think DirecTV's pricing is insane. But I'm going to stick. I've had really good luck with Dish. I've had pretty good luck with Comcast as a cable provider. Not as an internet provider, admittedly, but as a cable provider, I've had pretty good luck with them. I get all of the channels I want. I don't really have to think about how I get the channels that I want. I only want like 5 channels, but that's difficult to get when one of those is NBC Sports and the other one of those is BBC America. So no, just get cable. I'm sorry. Like, this is not actually for the people they think it's for.
So
this isn't going to get the cable nevers. This isn't going to get like my friend Emily, who gets all of her entertainment on YouTube. This isn't going to get them. This is $50 a month for a very oddly limited cable service. That's a lot of money.
see, at least the Dish
$600 a year.
Sling TV is $20 a month for ESPN, and then
No
you
DVR,
can
but no DVR.
no DVR, right? But if you're doing that, okay, so the only thing that I can justify that for is you'd actually spend $25 a year because you want the extra sports channels as well. But that is the sports thing that fills most cord cutters
Hold on.
void.
Question: do they get NBC Sports?
I do not know,
Yeah, but still,
but I can
I'm
tell you.
watching Formula One Grand Prix, and those things come on at the middle of the night. So I'm not going to stay up to the middle of the night on a Sunday, a work day for me.
Yeah, no, they don't have NBC.
They don't have NBC Sports, and they don't have a DVR function.
No, they don't even have NBC.
Great. Fantastic. Here's my point. The lack of DVR function, yeah. You can watch the
Sony's
big game with your douche bros, yes.
Sony has NBC Sports on its second tier with the sports package,
Yeah,
but they don't
so
have
I'm at
ESPN.
$60 a month. I don't know what I pay Dish Network because it's literally built into my rent, but I'm willing to bet that it's close to that.
It's about that. So yeah, and so that's if you're doing cord cutting, like in a lot of ways I am, to save money, then this is not going to save money. In fact, when you consider the fact that Comcast and AT&T and all of these companies get you into the ridiculous cable by bundling, you're not going to save any money because they will probably, in fact, you'll probably spend more because in order to get reasonable internet, I have one step above reasonable internet, but in order to get reasonable internet,
I need unreasonable internet.
I do need
truly unreasonable internet.
Hey, I was happy when they told me that I was getting 100 megabits per second now. I mean, what am I going to use that for?
Megabits.
I downloaded Office in 10 seconds. All of it. All of Office.
Because I've been told. So I read the PhD, Piled Hybrid and Deeper comic, which is kind of like life in grad school. And a lot of it's joking about, oh, you'll never graduate. But I've been told I'm graduating soon. And I won't be able to use Emory's internet anymore. I need the megabits.
So, and I mean, we were having this conversation that, all these things are pitched at cord cutters because they think that cord cutters just want a different way of getting, are just sticking it to the cable companies. And in some ways that's true. But in other ways, you have to be offering something that is easy. This is not easy.
Well,
if you came out and you said, hey, we've got this service, and I part of it is I think that Sony pushed this out. I think Sony pushed it out to 3 of the largest networks in the country to see how it takes. And then they're going to see if they're going to drop the price. I bet you that's what they're trying to figure out. Can we sustain this $50 price?
No, I don't think so. I think that's too much.
Especially with all of the other rumors from, a trend of last week was everyone is coming out with a TV
Apple
service
included.
online.
I mean, the Apple rumors about an Apple TV service.
Yeah, 30 to 40
have
bucks.
ESPN.
And so they'll probably have ESPN and HBO.
Well, then HBO's going to be their own thing. At $15 a month, you can get a standalone HBO. But even if I look at the services, the cord cutting services that I want, 2 of which I already paid for. I get MLB.TV, which admittedly isn't actually because of cord cutting. It's because I don't live in my hometown. And I want my hometown baseball team, specifically the Houston Astros.
You also get there's a lot of value add from
MLB.TV.
I mean, that is a service that they understand their target market, and they like when you consider there's 150 150 something games a year.
180. Excuse me.
Is it that
81 and
many?
81. It's 81 home games, 81 away games.
Okay, 162 games a year plus
Right.
the
Postseason.
postseason if
And
your
all
team
the
makes
and
it.
the entire preseason.
So because of all of that, you're paying less than $1 a game
Right.
for a year.
Right. And I probably
There is
watch three
there
games,
is
3 games a
value
week.
there, especially because it's all on demand later.
Right. Which is what
That's-
and everyone's like,
that
"Oh,
is
you
the
get
value.
blackouts in your hometown." Yeah. But I'm busy from 7 to 10 p.m. when most of the games are, and certainly day games I'm working or pastoring or whatever. So, MLB.TV works out great for me. It's my big like cord cutting because I'm a cord cutter 50% of the week. Up at the parsonage, we don't have cable or anything. And so what I have is I have stuff I bought on iTunes, which I've been doing since college, and now my iTunes library is worth more than my first car. Yeah, no, that's actually true. My iTunes is now worth more than my first car.
Is that the
And
grape?
The grape, yeah. My iTunes account is worth more than my, what was it, 1999 Saturn LS in purple.
The grape.
We called it the grape. My iTunes account is worth more than what we paid for the grape. So there's that factor. I watch MLB.TV when it's baseball season, and I watch Netflix.
Right, and I am actually a cord cutter. I don't pay for like cable, except for the fact that Comcast just gives it to me.
Yeah,
no, it's not even bundled. They just give it to me.
Well,
they don't
I
even
think
like.
that's part of the DTV transition. Yeah, I understand how that happens.
I think it's just that they can sync the cord cutter numbers because they only offer that specific on 25 megabits per second and up.
Interesting.
But anyways, they so I get my local stations over the air, and I flipped to that recently for March Madness because the game was ending and I wanted to watch it, and so I flipped to it really quick from Netflix. But other than that, I watch everything on Netflix and YouTube.
Right.
I paid for Hulu Plus for 2 months because I was watching Parks and Rec, and they were having new episodes come out every single week, and I could not be constrained to this 7 to 8 on Tuesday nights every single week, and so I would
often on NBC's website.
They would, but I think they had an 8-day delay.
Yeah. That's a pain.
And so I was just like, forget this. I'm just going to pay for it. And then I remembered why I never pay for Hulu Plus, because you end up watching just as many commercials as you do for actual television.
It's pretty bad.
Except I'm paying for it.
Well, you're paying for actual television too most of the time.
Yeah, and so in that case, I just forget. Well, I can't fast forward through it though. So in that case, I'm just like, I'm not going to pay for this Hulu Plus thing. I've canceled Hulu Plus at least 4 times over the course of like being a cord cutter. Netflix is the only one that's remained consistent, and then I've kind of gone in and out on various music streaming services and things like that. But really, I don't think that anything. The Sling TV is interesting to me. If they could give me a $5 option to record locally, even if it's just I can record on a box at my house,
right?
Or if I can pay $10 and record online for $30 a month for live sports with DVR, I would pay for that.
Yeah, I would.
I would.
So, but
as a cord cutter,
but listen to the
that's my value add.
No. But let's assume for the 50% of my week that I am a cord cutter, right? To get what I really want, it would cost me $50 a month, but I'd only get 3 things. Well, okay, and we all have Amazon Prime. So let's just assume we all have access to Prime streaming.
Yeah, but I have Prime because, I ship lots of stuff.
I bought a disc drive, right? I buy parts. So what I really want is MLB.TV, which I have, Netflix, which I have, and then the HBO service.
Right.
Because it turns out I like Last Week Tonight. But you know what? I don't need Last Week Tonight now. I'm perfectly fine with the half of the show that gets posted to YouTube. And in some ways, I'm better off for it. And it's not like some shady person. It's the Last Week Tonight YouTube account. And I get a lot of value out of Last Week Tonight. I don't pay him a dime. Which I think is where, this is a problem that I think it doesn't exist in 15 years. Right?
No.
Because the people, whatever post millennials are, and I don't think we have a name for them yet. But whoever these people are, they're the death to the cable company, and they're the death to the AAA game studios, because post millennials only play one game. They pick it and they play it for years, whether it's Minecraft, whether it's DayZ, League of Legends, Dota, whatever. They're playing one game, getting super obsessed with it, and they get all of their content for free.
Well, except for mobile. Mobile is the exception to that.
No, I mean they're playing free games.
Oh no, yeah, free games on mobile. But I'm saying like the one game that they play is usually, if they're going to be a hardcore, they're hardcore for one game.
Right. Yeah. So it's the hardcore gamers. So they don't care about, the weekly releases like we follow. They're not interested in that. They're interested in cool YouTube videos about people living in DayZ, or, shoutcasts of League of Legends or whatever. And they've never lived in a world where content costs money.
Right.
Really. They understand content as being free. We still think of content as costing money. And so these kind of services are aimed at millennials who are willing to go, oh yeah, content still costs money. Plenty of millennials don't think that.
We understand that it costs money. We may not be the ones paying for it, but like, for example...
everyone's parent is why anyone has HBO Go.
Oh, right, that's true. And then also the other thing for me is that, and you also pointed this out to me, so many people use ad blockers. And ad blockers are playing this game of staying ahead of the advertisers to keep ads off. Well, because I don't want that clogging up my my screen. You are literally stealing their content.
At that point, you're literally stealing it.
You may not see it that way, but
you're paying them with your time.
Like you're on their site so that their advertisers get more screen time with you.
Yep.
And therefore, they get more money from their advertisers. And oh, by the way, if you click on one of those links, they get even more money.
Yeah, sure. So, speaking of people you are actually going to give real money to.
Speaking of real money.
Yeah. Some information leaked out about how Apple plans to sell its Apple Watch models. We'd already heard the customers would be able to try on Apple Watches starting April 10th in advance of an April 24th launch. As it turns out, customers will be able to receive a 15-minute demo with an Apple Store employee with a chance to pre-order the watch and schedule a pickup time for release day. The idea is that people will not have to book these sessions in advance, but will be able to book appointments to try on the watch if they want to do it that way as well. Once the watches are selling in earnest, Apple Watch sales will be divided into 4 zones within the Apple Store. Zone 1 will be 10 or so.
I like zones.
Yeah, 10 or so demo stations for where you can try on Apple Watch and Apple Watch Sport. So it's the stainless steel and the aluminum, respectively. Zone 2 is for buying the Apple Watch. Zone 3 will provide information and answers to questions about Apple Watch. Zone 4. Zone 4 is more controversial. Zone 4 will be selling the Apple Watch Edition only for douchebags. There's going to be only 2 douchebags. Apple Watch Douchebag Edition. Whatever. It will be staffed by 2 specifically trained douchebags who are hand-selected Apple Store employees who have been with the company for a long time and received special training. Not all stores will have Zone Douchebag, only special ones. Jimmy, what zone will you be in?
Not Zone Douchebag.
I think we found the show title. Not all stores will have Zone Douchebag. Not all stores will have Zone Douchebag.
You've been playing too much South Park Stick of Truth.
I love that game. Douchebag.
So how do you get into Zone 4?
Just make an appointment, presumably.
Do I have to show my Rolex at the door? Is that how this
Amex.
works?
Wait, here's my big plan.
That's a good plan.
Here's my big plan. I'm going to try to get us into Zone 4. I want to enter Zone Douchebag. This is terrible. I wish to enter Zone Douchebag. And I was trying to think of how do I do it, right? So I've often had this idea of going to a Rolls-Royce dealership and seeing if they would let me test drive a Rolls-Royce. Now,
you should test that before we go try the Zone 4.
So dressed like this, no, they're not going to let me in. But if I put on my suit, my tailored J. Crew Italian imported wool suit, if I take off my normal Fossil watch or my Pebble smartwatch and just go bare wristed, so I'm not wearing a watch, and I, start talking about how my stock is about to vest and how, I'm looking to, let go of some of my excess capital. If I send all my talking through my nose and talk like this, like the British upper class, yes, then maybe they'd let us in.
Just use the British accent.
Oh, I can do that too. I mean, not the ridiculous one, the actual one.
The actual
one that sounds
yes.
realistic. One I've worked on for years. This one,
They really wouldn't know what to do with you. They would just let you in.
And that might explain why my hair isn't done properly. It's the Brit. He doesn't really know. It's different culture. Maybe this is what rich people look like in Britain. Or maybe I could even gel my hair so that I could just look perfectly coiffed. I don't even know how to do that. I don't own hair gel.
You just want to make sure you keep the glasses on so they don't see the bags under your eyes.
Well, yeah, it's like a drug dealer rather than what I am, which is a overworked pastor. Anyways.
So we know I won't be in Zone 2 or Zone 3 because I don't want to buy one, and I really don't want to listen to a douchebag talk to me about one.
No, those will be the non-douchebags. The douchebags are limited to Zone 4.
They work for the Apple
quarantined
Store.
The douchebags in Zone 4.
So Zone 4 presumably will be in the back of the store. The Linux one is going to have.
Oh yeah, that's why I want to. That's why I think realistically I could get us into Zone 4. Yeah,
worth a try. Yes.
It's starting to turn into like an Ocean's movie.
But this explains why the Galleria Apple Store was doing renovations recently.
Right, because they put it in a Zone 4.
Yeah, they're getting a Zone 4, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
It's the Galleria in
Tyson's Corner.
Tyson's Corner is definitely going to. They were the first Apple Store. They're definitely going to get one.
They're going to get it. Fifth Avenue. You can predict
all of the obvious ones are probably going to get it.
Yeah.
I guess how do I convince the Apple employee that I would actually buy one of these things?
Well, you don't
because presumably I would have to wait in a long line unless I conveyed some kind of like interest.
No. You schedule an appointment.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You did say that.
Text for those of you who don't have an appointment. There's going to be a text message check-in system. So you go in, get on the waiting list like a restaurant. Because they're mostly
in malls,
right? It's in malls. So you're going to go, if you just to drop in rather than a pre-scheduled appointment, like, many restaurants, you just get on a list and they'll text you when your appointment's up. So you don't have to sit there and wait all day.
That's actually kind of brilliant.
Or you can sit there, wait all day and skim their Wi-Fi. I mean, it's fine. Apple Store.
And they would like you to do that.
Right. They would love you to do that. They're getting all of the data and all the things you access. It's great.
And then they'll sell you a MacBook.
They probably will. And a side note from last week, update on last week's show, I think I figured out why we didn't get a rev to the 15-inch MacBook Pros. I'm very interested in this because I'm in the market. Intel hasn't released the quad-core mobile processors yet.
Oh.
That's what will be powering the MacBook Pro. So we're expecting that around WWDC. So for those of you lovers of the 15-inch MacBook Pro, as I am, and need a new workhorse, as I do, just you wait. You'll be fine. You don't have to take that money and invest it in Zone 4. Really, just don't take your money and invest it in Zone 4. It's not...
Zone 4 is not Cloud9.
No. Something that might be, though, is Meerkat.
Oh, you say that.
Tell me about...
You want me to tell you about Meerkat?
And then I'm going to tell you about Meerkat.
Well, Timon is a meerkat from the line. Anyways, sorry, wrong meerkat. So we didn't talk about this much last week, which was the live streaming app Meerkat, which was the darling of South by Southwest. It was actually announced last week. Yeah, I was not going anywhere near Austin for that nonsense. So what Meerkat does is allows users at the press of a button to live stream all of their Twitter followers and allow those followers to watch and tweet back while watching their live stream.
Yep.
So it's a pretty cool thing, and the CEO had this interview with USA Today, and he was live streaming the whole interview, and you could tell the interviewer was just like, I don't know what to do. He's not supposed to have a camera. I'm supposed to be the only one with a camera.
It's democratization of the media.
Yeah, it really was that.
Anyone can now have a 24-hour news channel.
Yeah, so basically,
that 24-hour news channel involves the anchor taking a leak.
Yeah. So what this would do is it would. Yeah, you just totally threw me off. So with Meerkat, when you would start a stream, it would send a tweet to all of your followers saying, "Hey, I just started a stream. Follow this link to watch it," and then that would start the conversation. So it was going great for Meerkat. However, the rug got pulled out from under them this past week. So apparently, they'd built up entirely on Twitter.
Social graph. Yeah.
Using it, yeah, they used it for identity, communication, and distribution of everything. Then Twitter removed their access to the social graph on Friday.
Twitter recently bought Periscope that does the same thing.
Yeah, that is exactly the same thing. And they have a rule about, they will limit access to companies that are direct competitors to them.
Yep.
Which, when Meerkat was at South by, they were not direct competitors to anything Twitter was doing. Twitter just bought someone that was a direct competitor.
Sucks to be Meerkat.
So it was weird because they had this kind of cordial relationship before that, and so yeah, they got kind of screwed by Twitter indirectly. But that's what happens when you build your entire app upon another company's social graph. So Trey, do you think this whole mess is going to kind of like result in Meerkat still being awesome, or is it just dead?
It's not dead. Meerkat is the death to society, but Meerkat itself is not dead. I think...
Is this like Soylent Green is people?
Here's the thing. The core thing they need Twitter for, it still works fine. You can still publish your link on Twitter. So your Twitter followers can still get to your Meerkat. Meerkat? What are the...
I don't know.
Whatever. We're just going to call it your Meerkat.
Also, there's no like recording capabilities currently. It's literally live stream or nothing.
It's ephemeral. It's like...
It is the Snapchat of Twitter live streaming.
There's already a website, Meerkat Roulette.
Yeah, there is.
You can play some Meerkat Roulette. My worry is this is going to just turn into nonstop dongs, right? Right? I mean, at some point...
We've been here before.
No, okay, but I guess the difference is you still have to click the link.
And it's also public on the internet.
The person, or if you think you're interested in what this person's saying, and click the link.
Okay,
so maybe it's different.
I have an important question. Will all of the bots on Twitter have Meerkat sessions with each other?
Yeah. I want the different
There's the thought.
I want the different porn bots on Twitter to Meerkat each other. And then that can just become its own thing.
And then break the internet.
I mean, Meerkat's going to fall victim to Rule 34 really fast. Anything that can be made into porn will be made into porn. It's just a rule. And so I'm sure that will be one of the uses for Meerkat. What I think, for me, what Meerkat is great for is protests. Stuff like Occupy. I mean, not Occupy specifically, but stuff like Occupy. Or stuff like, the various revolutions that just have one-click live streaming.
However,
over mobile data, that to me is what's really potentially transformative about Meerkat.
My fear with that, though, is that you're not going to have any permanence to any of this. And... So,
well, okay, Periscope, Twitter's product, will have some permanence.
Yeah, and so I think that Meerkat as an idea, I think Meerkat will get purchased by somebody else. I think that even if they don't like
Amazon,
maybe.
No, follow me on that, because
Amazon,
Twitch,
or
and solve
Google.
Twitch's storage problem too.
Well, exactly. That's why I say or Google, because Google did not get Twitch. And Google can fishtail this into, the machine and give it all of the storage solutions it needs and give it all of the social graph it needs. And
so, okay, one worry with that.
Or Facebook. Facebook could buy them.
Yeah, sure. Any of this. But what I am hearing, and I'm not a Snapchatter, so this is from people who do Snapchat. and their perspective that the ephemeralness is great because then you don't have to worry about it as much. You just take dumb pictures and then you send them and then it's done.
It's not a storage problem. Is that what this is?
No, it's not a. You don't have to worry about showing off your technique because it's going to live on forever. People are putting a lot of time into their Instagrams now because they know it's going to live forever and everyone's going to see it. Whereas Snapchat, it just goes away. So who cares? It's no big deal.
It's good for food being warm when you eat it.
Right. Well, yeah. Don't get me started about that again. So I think the ephemeral nature of Meerkat may actually be one of its advantages. And if it's something really important and people are watching it, there are other ways of recording it. It's like Snapchat, right? Like, people can get your Snapchats.
Right, exactly.
Screenshot. So speaking of changing times and changing norms, it's this week's last call.
Sorry, I wish I had like a good goblet for that. I don't know, one of these days. Yeah, we'll get
slopping over the foam.
We'll get TLCP Steins.
Yeah. I'll add it to the budget for next year.
So Trey,
with the new studio.
Yeah, of course. So Trey, I regret to inform you that it is the end of an era.
Snapchat's going away?
No, that's the beginning of an era.
Everything is being replaced by Meerkat.
No, not yet. So in 2014, streaming sales surpassed CD sales for the first time ever. And by streaming sales, I mean like revenue from streaming versus music. Revenue from streaming music.
Yeah.
Surpassed revenue from CD sales for the first time ever.
Yeah.
So according to the RIAA, who I'm told keeps track of these things,
before they were suing individual children, that was their job.
The revenue generated from streaming music services was equal to $1.87 billion in 2014, while CD sales were $1.85 billion. The streaming industry grew by 29% last year, the streaming music industry, while the CD industry declined by 12.5%. However, have no fear, digital downloads still represented the largest portion of the pot, falling only 8.7% to $2.58 billion. Paid subscription services, so of that kind of $1.87 billion from streaming services, paid subscriptions were up 29%. So that's like the Spotify and the Google Music and the Xbox Music and all of those. To $799 million, whereas free services were up more, 34%, but still only made a small portion of the revenue at $295 million. So the overall industry showed a drop of about 0.5%, is only doing just less than $7 billion last year, continuing a trend that's been going kind of since the late 90s.
Yeah, and that's actually more than that if you account for inflation and
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Trey, I have a very serious question. Are people just not listening to music anymore?
No, people just aren't paying for music anymore.
Right. Back to the generation that doesn't pay for things.
Right, again, so that $300 million being made off of the free services, I think accounts for a really huge percentage of the market. And I think that's the problem. That $300 million represents a really large portion.
Oh, people look at me and they go, "Why would I pay for Spotify?"
Well, I look at you. Why I don't listen to music, right?
I listen to music.
2 albums, 3 albums a year, and that's enough for me.
I don't buy that many albums a year. I probably buy 5, maybe.
But again,
on a high year.
The only money I spend on music in any given year is maybe 3 albums. That's it. I don't listen to an ad-supported service. I don't subscribe to a non-ad supported service.
Yeah, you don't have as much of a desk job as I do, though.
I mean, but what I do, okay, but I live with headphones in, same as you do. I just do it in a different space. I'm listening to spoken word content.
Right.
I'm listening to podcasts and audiobooks. I'm not listening to music.
Well, mine, I break up my day. I listen to audiobooks. Usually I'll listen to audiobooks in the morning and then music in the afternoon or vice versa. The usual lunchtime is kind of my break between the two. Sometimes if I have a really good audiobook I'll knock it out by listening to it all day, including my drive into work. But I think that I think you bring up a good point there that there is a lot of other content, podcasting, ourselves included,
Hmm.
seems to like I remember it seemed like it was dying, and then all of a sudden everyone was posting, all the main services, CNET, The Verge, and Gadget, were all posting things about how to start podcasting on your own. And we've seen a lot of things coming out for iPad apps and iPad accessories, that also, of course, work with the iPhone for how to record your own podcasts just using an iPad. Now, granted, we have a lot more hardware
Oh
and
yeah.
much better
Oh god.
hardware,
What we we are
but
not just doing. There is an iPad involved in this rig.
yeah, it plays the
It
music.
plays the music. I mean, for the video viewers, we're gonna go on a tour. There's the iPad. It's what handles the music. There's the MacBook Pro that handles the audio recording. There's the soundboard. That's how I kind of control what goes into the streaming computer, which is what you're watching if you're watching the video feed, and the audio feed if you're listening to this as an audio listener. And then
We make
Jimmy-
this as simple as possible.
Ooh, that's great. That's right.
Man, I'm glad that my camera is not the one that's connected to the show.
Yep.
So, yeah, anyways, I think that there's a large growth in audiobooks and podcasts and other content as well. And at some point, there is just too much content.
Right. Well,
I'm looking at you, Sony.
Well, I mean, this is the modern problem, right? I'm so behind on my DVR. I refuse to get stressed out about this, right? I'm so behind on my paperwork too. I'm always perpetually behind on my thesis. Like, these are things I actually stress out about. Being behind on my DVR, it's just not.
You've been behind on your thesis since 2008.
Yeah, I have been behind on my thesis since undergrad. Since my first thesis, I've been behind on my thesis. Yeah, so that's just being behind on a thesis is a state of being for me. But it is something that stresses me out. My DVR I refuse to be stressed out about my DVR. I also think a lot of music is captured on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Again, this is
Now,
the YouTube
okay, so
video
they did roll YouTube into that number. So
into the 300 million.
into the 300
Yep,
million.
okay.
YouTube is included in that
Yep.
number.
That really is like most of the industry.
But remember that YouTube has a way that they can separate out what is music and what
yeah,
is
I know.
or
Hey,
not music.
YouTube's smart people.
But
my
yeah,
point is they
YouTube's
can.
still searching for a way to pay for itself.
So, but I think the reality is this is not a $7 billion industry. It
No.
just isn't a $7 billion industry.
Well, and I think that's why a lot of the indie groups are getting bigger. There are more smaller groups instead of the fewer larger groups.
Well, we say, look,
There have
there's-
always been indie groups.
there's a direct parallel to this. This is the same thing that's happening in gaming, right?
No, yeah,
we are getting
exactly.
fewer and fewer AAA releases, fewer and fewer AAA studios, but just a glut of indie. Some great, some garbage, but a glut of indie. What technology has done is done two things. One, it's easy to make your own stuff, us included, right? We make our own stuff. We listen to tech podcasts from professional people, but even the people we follow are becoming kind of less professional in that.
I mean,
they're less
Tom Merritt is
Right.
his own thing.
It's his own thing. Content has gotten easier to produce, and content has gotten easier to access. And so what that means is it is much harder to be a record company. It is much harder to be a AAA game studio. It's much harder to be a movie studio. Because that kind of mid-tier stuff, who's going to buy it? Because the low-tier stuff made by passionate creative people are generally better and cheaper to make.
Oh yeah.
AAA, whether it's in movies, songs, video games, whatever, the high end of the market, I think, will always be there. Not because I want the Justin Biebers, but because I want the Avengers. And I want the Assassin's Creeds. And I want Call of Duty to exist for the people who like Call of Duty.
Or whatever the next thing is.
But also because the AAA space produced things like The Last of Us. Right? The Last of Us is a AAA game.
BioShock Infinite.
BioShock Infinite.
You look at the end of the last console
In the
cycle.
last console generation. You even look at something like the amazing leap forward that was Gears of War or Call of Duty 4. I want these things to stay around. Assassin's Creed 2, for crying out loud. For me, one of the best games of all time.
Well, and then Shadows of Mordor in the new generation.
Right. I want these games to still exist, but I'm okay with there being fewer of them. As long as the ones we're getting, which has not been the case so far this year, Bloodborne comes out tomorrow, so next gen may start tomorrow. If it kind of started with Shadows of Mordor, but the next real next gen thing that people are really betting their hopes on, kind of this year's Titanfall, in a weird analogy, is Bloodborne, and so those reviews hit or may. Oh, hold on.
No, they already hit.
They hit. What is it?
Yeah.
Doing? What is it? Wait, yeah.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. It's technically last week's show, but breaking news. Metacritic, come on, load. Games. 93 on Metacritic.
How many do they have?
Look, you're lucky the page loaded. Come on. Out on a base of 28 reviews.
That's pretty good.
Exclusively positive. Let's see. Anybody I trust in here in this mix?
No. Doesn't look like
Game
it.
Informer, 98.
Yeah.
I mean, they're actually
That's pretty
owned
high,
by
though.
a company that sells video games, so take that with a grain of salt.
It doesn't look like GameSpot is at 90. Yeah.
So we're talking, it's hitting. I mean, that's the same kind of score.
That's
the
a good-
Escapist, 90. It's the same kind of
that's a
score
good
Shadows of
score.
Mordor was getting last year. We
That's a good
we
score.
have our AAA, Game of the Year competitor. Guess who's getting assigned the review?
Yeah.
That guy. And on that note, Jimmy needs to go play some Bloodborne, so we got to get out of here. Thank you so much for joining us in this week's last week's text last call. We're hoping to fix.
We're going to get
recording
back
schedule.
on schedule this week.
We're hoping to get back on. It's just been real rough. If you have any feedback for us, if you're also excited about Bloodborne, or if you're going to be going into Zone Douchebag, email us at
Let us know.
podcast@textlesscall.com, facebook.com/textlesscall, pinterest.com/textlesscall, or at textlesscall on the Twitters. However you find us, we'll be seeing you on the interwebs. For the Apple Watch launch, I want to make a shirt that says "Welcome to Zone Douchebag."
You should. I'll pay for it.
Make a shirt that says "Welcome to Zone Douchebag."
One off. We'll see you all at Zone Douchebag.